This Week in History.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
All right, Johnny, this week I've got a couple of things for us. So first off, if you haven't noticed my kegerator in the last two episodes, my wife bought this for Christmas. It is filled with Newcastle right now, which is what I'm drinking. You've got your plug for Voodoo Ranger, which as far IPAs go, I actually do like Voodoo Ranger. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Kind of like their Fat Tire. Kind of like just about every beer I've had.
Other
from
beer
them.
they make. Well, because they all make IPA. It's like every beer they have is
pretty
IPA.
Good. Well, no, I mean Voodoo Ranger. I think. Wait, no, I'm thinking of New Belgium. Never mind. Scratch that. Voodoo Ranger does just IPAs. Yeah, you're
pretty
right.
much. Yeah, just various different IPAs. Yep.
Yep.
Anyways,
have my brands mixed up.
So first up, we've got Rosa Parks. She is going to be arrested on December 1st, 1955.
All right. Is this the bus incident?
This is the bus incident. Yeah. If you're living under a bus. She was arrested for not giving up her seat on the bus to a white woman in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, this was shocking to me. What we're not taught in school is she actually wasn't breaking the law, because technically the law was a law from 1900 in Mobile that was passed as a city ordinance that said bus drivers had the power to segregate the seating on the bus, but could not force someone to give up their seat, move their seat, or stand if space was needed for white patrons.
Oh, okay.
But over time, they kind of ignored this fact, and you don't do what the white man says, you're going to get in trouble.
Right. Now, so this was obviously taught to us pretty early on in like 5th, 4th, 6th grade, 3rd even maybe.
Probably earlier than we probably should have been being taught about it.
Because I remember her, she did it was a whole she had to sit in the back of the bus.
Yeah, she sat in
and
the
then
middle, she sat in the middle
towards
of the bus.
Front.
Yeah, she sat in the middle of the bus right at the edge of the white.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be in the back of the bus. Is that right?
Yeah. So the history does a horrible job. That's what we're taught. We're taught that the black people sat in the back, the white people sat in the front.
Okay,
yes,
and that's my main point is because of when they taught that, all I thought
cool
when I
kids
was
wanted
taught
to be in the
that
back of the bus.
was like, why is she wanting to sit in the front? What a dork.
All the cool kids want to sit in the
back of the bus. Of course, that's where it's awesome. You can go off the little speed bump and go launch up in the air.
Yeah, that's.
So they taught this at the wrong age
because I thought the same
care
thing.
About anything.
I did. There was actually no official seating sections on buses. There was an arbitrary sign that could be moved at any point in time, because 75% of the bus patrons were African American, and only 25 were white. Because there's money that's involved, and usually only people who don't have money ride the bus. So, yeah.
Well, surely that happening back then had no sort of long-term socioeconomic impact.
Not a single one. Not a single one. And
That's
so the sign would be moved basically according to need.
Sure.
And the only other arbitrary rule was that a black person could not sit in the same aisle as a white person. So
gotcha. So if they're in aisle 5, you can't sit on the other side of aisle 5. You got to get back to aisle 6 or aisle 4, I assume, unless that sign was moved in such a way that you can't sit there.
Yep. So it's very, very arbitrary. Park herself, Rosa Parks herself, actually had a run-in 1943 with this whole bus segregation system when she entered the wrong door. So apparently she must have entered the front door of the bus instead of the back door of the bus.
Yeah.
And the driver told her to get out and do it again. And when she got out, he drove away. So
I mean, he sounded like a nice guy when he told her to get out and then get back in.
Dick move.
But now that he drove away, I'm starting to think that maybe he was just being an a-hole.
I think you're right. That driver's name was James Blake, who was actually
make him famous, Twitter.
Yeah, he's also the same driver who got her arrested for not moving her seat.
Somebody shamed this dude. Put his picture all over somewhere.
Johnny, he's dead.
What?
But I'll put his picture.
When did this happen?
1955. The guy's dead. I guarantee you he's dead.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, he's dead. I guarantee you.
Make him famous anyway.
Rosa Parks herself would argue all the way up until her death in 2005 that we're not done fighting.
2005.
That's
we're
insane.
I'm sorry.
That she
Real
lived that
quick.
long?
I'm sorry. Again, the way that things are taught in American public schools is atrocious because all of the civil rights movements and everything else is taught as like an ancient history.
Yeah.
When people are alive that
Johnny,
experienced
our
all of
parents.
It. I know.
Our parents
I know, but that's not how it's taught. It's taught as
I know.
separate from anything that we've ever known and anything that we've ever experienced as a country. At least, and this may very well be a case of where I was brought up, because I was brought up in Hamilton County, Indiana. If you're not familiar, look it up.
It's a very rich, white, suburban area of Indianapolis. Yeah.
Not a suburb north of Indianapolis.
Yes.
They are. Diversity was an
old.
It was more of a subject that was taught in school than a thing we experienced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this time when we were learning about this, I was in Bartholomew County, which isn't. It's really not. Our diversity was that we had poor white people.
Right.
There.
Yeah. Well.
That
right.
was
Yeah.
our
There
diversity.
were. Yeah. There's associated economic diversity, but the whole racial and ethnic diversity was not.
In any case, Rosa Parks would actually argue that that social inequality was not met, and we still need to argue it all the way up to her death. Which, right? The segregated buses would actually be struck down in the Constitution. They would say it is unconstitutional to do that. It is not separate but equal in 1956 because
give them their own bus. That's worse. Instead of trying to split up a good white person bus. Right?
The last thing I have for us today, Johnny, is the treason trial of President Jefferson Davis would begin on December 3rd, 1868.
Wait, go on. Who's Jefferson Davis?
Yeah, the president of the Confederacy. The
what?
President. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He would be tried for treason. It would start on December 3rd, 1868, but not really.
What did he... Wait, the
there.
trial wasn't really, or he wasn't really tried for treason?
Well, we'll give it with me.
All of it. All of it's not really.
Yes.
Great.
So it was supposed to be the biggest trial of their age.
Sounds
the
like
trial
treason.
of the century.
Yeah.
The trial of the century.
Off with his head, as they do.
But President Johnson, he got himself impeached, or there were impeachment trials of him that were going on at the same time that were intertwined with President Davis's treason trials.
Oh.
So they kept pushing Davis's trial back, and Johnson even himself, like in the papers, talked about the irony of it. Is like, we've got the guy who was the president of the Confederacy who's been sitting in jail for like 4 years that we haven't tried yet, but you're going to try me, the president of the United States,
now,
yeah, instead of that guy, and you're going to try me because you don't like what I'm doing with Reconstruction.
And everyone was just like, fake news!
Who's the cause of why there was need for Reconstruction? You're still not. He's not going to. What are we doing here?
Did he pardon himself? Is that
so? Davis was originally imprisoned on May 19th, 1865, after being caught in Georgia, as he was trying to sneak into the woods wearing his wife's shawl and raincoat.
No! Oh no!
He was dressing in drag to get away from the military.
Sneaking into the woods?
Yeah.
Why would you dress up if you're gonna sneak into the woods?
Well,
if you're gonna dress up, go to a place where dressing up might be appropriate. Walk down the street of the square downtown, wherever you live. Why would you walk into the woods and drag?
Needless to say, the newspapers had a field day with President Jefferson Davis dressing up in drag. So they
you think
he was only wearing the shawl, which is like that shoulder head thing that comes over, and then
right, yeah,
her raincoat. But outside of that, like he wasn't actually wearing a dress. But you wouldn't know that by looking at the newspapers.
No, I mean, God, have you seen what TMZ does? Good God.
He was originally charged with assassination of President Lincoln,
what?
But when no evidence was found of that, they charged him with treason instead.
We had the president of the Confederacy.
Yes,
was
charged with assassination. They thought he was.
Was it just because he was president? They were just like, you know what? I'll bet he did it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. I mean, I guess that's kind of how crimes were solved.
So the guy sits in jail from 1865 all the way out to 1868. So he's there for 3 years, just hanging out.
Yeah.
Here we go. On December 3rd, the trial would finally begin, sort of. There is a jury selection and opening statements. And fun history fact, the first black men to serve on a jury of the United States were for this trial.
Oh, no kidding.
So screw you, Jefferson. So,
I guess.
That's good. No, it's good because he was all like slaves and they're beneath us. And now they're sitting on his jury. Oh. So that's what it's irony, Johnny.
All right. Well, hey, for everybody who knows history who got that, good on you.
A+. I had another really good, so at work today, my boss was talking about another supervisor in another county was moving and she bought this house with 40 acres. And I said,
hell yeah.
I said, did a mule come with it? Crickets, Johnny.
What?
Nobody knew what I was talking about. How do you not know 40 acres
that's
and a mule?
No, that's
that
good.
That was a golden joke.
That's good. And if she doesn't own a mule after buying 40 acres,
you should go and buy a mule.
We ought to pitch in.
Get her a mule. So, anyway.
When's her birthday? Everybody can pitch in $5.
Mules
can't be that expensive.
Probably not. So Davis's attorneys in their opening statements would argue that according to the new 14th Amendment, Davis was already being punished because he could no longer hold public office. So basically one of the
That's punishment enough. Not being able to run for elected office is punishment enough. Oh. So
I think it's clause 2 of the 14th.
Thing.
Yeah, I think it's clause 2 or 3 of the 14th Amendment says if you were ever a member, if you ever committed treason, you can't be a government official again. And they said because he was already
was Trump? Never mind.
So because he was already being punished under the 14th Amendment, he could not be punished again because under the 5th Amendment, there's a double jeopardy clause. Can't be tried twice for the same crime.
Yeah, familiar with that. They made a movie of it that I never saw.
Yeah, I probably have it on Laserdisc.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I don't think I'm gonna. I'll probably watch.
So the trial actually was stopped, and it was sent to the Supreme Court to determine whether or not this had validity. But by this time, Johnson's impeachment was over, and he didn't get impeached. But his reign of presidency is also over because it's an election year, so he's a lame duck. He didn't get reelected. So he just says, all right, to hell with it. And on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1868, he gives a blanket pardon to all those who fought in the Confederacy, including Davis. And Davis is finally released after being in jail for almost 4 years. So,
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't it just 1 or 2 weeks ago? We can redo this on the
This Week in History?
This Week in History. When President Trump put out a blanket pardon for all of his children.
That was last week, Juddy. I have to go back in time now.
And that's This Week in History.